The Nerdcast Empire is on the air. We are back with another week of podcasting excellence here on the Hard Rock Empire. I am Matt in the studio. Great to have you along with us. This is the music that will cover the final 2 weeks of 2025 as we wrap up another full year in music here on the Hard Rock Empire, episode number 99. Hard to believe, but we have covered yet another year of the best hard rock and heavy metal. We're going to wrap up the year today, and then starting next week, we'll get into 2026. And then coming up soon over the next few weeks, we'll have our best of episode, and we'll give you more details on that coming up down the road. Joining me in studio to put a wrap on the music of 2025 is Mike. Mike, how's it going?
It's going, yeah. Not a whole lot of new music for the last couple of weeks, so we can go ahead and group them together to somehow locate and highlight the good music that's come out. Not that the list was bad. It was just really, really small this week.
Yeah, we're actually very fortunate that there were a handful of decent things to choose from this week because, yeah, like Mike said, there just were not many options. And when I paste the playlist in the chat in a little bit, and in just a couple minutes, you're going to see that firsthand. It was a very, very thin week of music. And before we get to that new music and before I get to all of the things I need to tell you about this episode and what we've got coming up, we do have to run an ad break on Twitch. We're going to do that right out of the gate. Again, if you are subscribed to our channel on Twitch, you won't see any ads. If you're watching on YouTube, you won't see any ads. You can use your Prime to subscribe on Twitch. If you want to skip those ads, we would appreciate that. It doesn't cost you a thing. You can use it every month. Otherwise, just hang tight. We got 90 seconds of ads to run on Twitch, and then we will get started with this episode. So if you are on Twitch, we'll see you in about 90 seconds if you are not subscribed. Otherwise, you're going to hang out with us over the next 90 seconds, and we'll kind of set the stage for this episode. Like Mike said, not a lot of options this week, but I feel like we were prepared for that because now that we've done a couple of these end-of-year, beginning-of-year type situations, we knew that just aren't a lot of albums coming out the last couple weeks of December and into the first couple weeks of January.
Yeah, it certainly helped that there were a few that really stood out that I knew wouldn't be a problem to pick them. A lot of re-releases, a lot of things that I wouldn't want to pick, but overall it wasn't too bad. I think since we've altered the format where we're only picking one new release each, it makes it certainly doable, whereas before, picking 4 would have been maybe a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I'm not sure there would have been. I mean, we would have managed because we always did. We've certainly had some weeks where we were in that boat, and we would have found a way to make it work, but probably would have involved picking a re-release or two or something that would have been maybe something we don't typically pick, but we'll generally talk about. And again, in a moment, we're going to put the playlist in the chat. I encourage you to go check it out because there is some good stuff, and you don't want to see it kind of get lost in that holiday season where people are maybe not necessarily thinking about picking up something new. I think you said that a couple weeks ago, where a lot of times people are buying things that they know about. Maybe they're not looking for the latest and greatest, and so these albums can kind of fall through the cracks a little bit.
What is interesting going through the list of releases from the past 2 weeks is the amount of re-releases and what's being re-released. I'll kind of mention it when we go over the music overview, but I think there's a really cool opportunity for record labels to kind of unearth some really cool stuff and get it out to the public who maybe, for whatever reason, maybe just market's not really converging back in the day. You didn't get a hold of this stuff, and now you have the option to. So could be some cool stuff coming out physically in the future.
Yeah, I think that 2026 could be quite the opportunity for some of that stuff to come out. Welcome back if you are on Twitch. Again, we are going to go through the music this week of December the 19th and December the 26th. So I'll go through my spiel one final time for the music of 2025. Each and every week, Mike will put together a playlist on YouTube with some of the best hard rock and heavy metal releases for a given week. In this case, it is 2 weeks, the weeks of December the 19th and December the 26th. He goes through, I go through, we take a look at those songs off the playlist, and then we will choose one album each for us to spotlight on the podcast. In addition, though, we do like to spotlight if there are notable re-releases, if there are big bands that are releasing albums that we would recommend but wouldn't necessarily spotlight, and anything else that just happens to jump out. And Mike, I'll let you kind of jump into kind of that section of the podcast. What jumps out? What's maybe that group of things that we're not spotlighting, but we do want to mention.
Yeah, so as far as major releases, there wasn't much of anything, which I'm not surprised, but when you look at the list, you will certainly see that to be the case. When I'm putting together the spreadsheet, obviously when a band's name appears numerous times, back to back to back to back to back, it's going to catch your attention, and that happened here as far as re-releases go. Evidently, see, I'm not a fan of hardcore punk, so this would have definitely flown under my radar forever. But I find it interesting. Relapse Records, they're re-releasing all the albums from the band Lip Cream, who I'm not familiar with, but come to find out, they were a Japanese hardcore punk band that I guess were really influential back in the day, even though they were only around from 1984 to 1990.
Oh,
But they got the 6 albums here that are getting re-released. I guess Relapse Records also contacted the original bassist Minoru and interviewed him to kind of put the whole thing together as this big kind of retrospective. Looking on their website, there was actually a 6 LP box set, which had a bunch of extras, as they always do, that's already sold out. So there's clearly a market for this, and it kind of makes me wonder if you're going to do that with a band like this, who obviously 1986 to 1990, if you're over here in the States, probably not super easy to get a hold of Japanese hardcore punk music. So if there's a label that's willing to kind of bridge that gap and put this stuff out, I'm curious what else they could do in the future.
yeah, 100%. I think, like you said, I feel like that is an opportunity for a lot of labels to, whether they're the original label owner of a certain band or maybe one of these mega labels that we talk about pretty regularly, to be able to acquire the catalog of some of these bands and give new audiences a chance to experience them for the first time, and give longtime fans a chance to maybe get a hold of something that just hasn't been available in physical form, maybe for 20, 30 plus years, because some of the stuff is really hard to find, even digitally. We've discovered that over the last couple months, that sometimes you really like something, and to try to find a full album of it is a challenge. And if it's that hard to find it digitally, imagine how hard it is to find a CD version of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this could be an untapped market for companies. I hope we see more of it, and I hope honestly that some of them are bands that I'm going to be interested in, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll keep an eye on that, and obviously anything that seems noteworthy, we'll mention it during the open of the podcast. Before you get to your pick, anything else that jumps out at you?
Well, I did also want to highlight the best name of the week.
Yes.
As far as what was on the overall spreadsheet. We have a Colombian death metal band. Their name is Funeral Vomit, and they have their newest album, Upheaval of Necromancy. Great name. They've been around a while. They got some really cool artwork on their albums. Definitely, I'm not necessarily the death metal guy, but, worth checking out.
Again, if you're going to be a band of a style that maybe I don't enjoy, like, at least give me something. Give me a creative name. Give me a great album art. Something that's going to be like, I don't know if I want to listen to this album, but kudos to you guys for coming up with something that's really creative.
I appreciate it one way or the other.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's really interesting.
That's about it for this week.
There you go.
This 2-week
This
period.
2-week period. Yeah, for sure. So it is time to get to our new picks for this week. And again, we're going to each pick one album to spotlight. So we'll let Mike kick things off first. And this, I will say, as a spoiler, I guess, a little bit, something I think is going to happen this week that I'm not sure in the 98 previous episodes of the Hard Rock Empire has ever happened before, which is kind of wild, to be honest with you. Certainly not in the same week. So we'll leave everybody to wonder what that thing might be. But Mike,
it's kind of amazing when you consider how certain record labels tend to recycle musicians. That we haven't encountered this, but either way, it's cool to see. Also cool to see when you look at kind of what we've picked over the past couple of years, like how much really good music's coming out of Australia.
Yeah, and then we're going to be spending our whole week, at least all of our new picks, down under. So kudos to Australia for giving us something good here at the end of 2025.
All that being said, my first pick is the third full-length studio album from a symphonic power metal band from Perth, Western Australia. They are Imperatore, and the album is The Lion Spirit.
Yeah, there were a couple things that really jumped out off the playlist this week, and these guys were definitely one of those two. So I knew one of the two of us were probably going to get a hold of this one. But yeah, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, so these guys formed in 2023. Band consists of the founder, Zoran Kunyak, on guitars and vocals, along with Dan Marjanovic on bass and Sean Alsop on drums. Only fitting that our podcast would feature a band whose name translates to Emperor. It just kind of worked out pretty well. Zoran's got a great voice, works really well with the symphonic power metal sound that they got going on. It's got a little bit of a progressive edge to it. If you like power metal, I don't think any of the other influences kind of jammed in there will do anything to keep you from enjoying this as a whole. It's just really, really good. And like I mentioned, not a whole lot of info on these guys, but man, like the amount of good music coming out of Australia is just ridiculous right now. And I'm a big fan of kind of starting off the year with some over-the-top symphonic power metal. I think, if you got some New Year's resolutions, you're trying to hit the gym, this makes really good workout music. Standout tracks on the album include Be a Man, My Life, Between the Worlds, All of Us, and the track that I picked to listen to, Orion.
Yeah, we're going to check that out in just a moment. For some reason, my YouTube music jumped ahead on me here, so we will find a way to re-cue this up so it doesn't play out over the air, and then we'll get that thing rolling along once again. But yeah, this is really good stuff from these guys. This was one that was definitely very excited to check out, so we will get to do that here on the podcast. So let's check out the new album from Imperatore from Australia. This is The Lion Spirit. This is the third track off of that album, Orion. Let's listen to a little bit of that now.
Journey through unknown, the dark winds turn to stone. I find my voice again, a soul stronger than before. In the darkness.
Yeah, I love the sound. Obviously, the vocals are great, but the music is so interesting to me. I think that's anytime we have a band like this, it's like, what are you bringing that makes you sound different than other bands that we've had throughout the year? And this is really totally different, and I think it makes it jump out, and it's really high quality too. This feels like a very polished effort from these guys. So kudos to them for just an outstanding album.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of one of the things that stood out to me is that the album never got dull to me. I felt from beginning to end, it was just engaging. I never got tired of a track. I just listened to it really easily. I wanted to pick a track that wasn't Be a Man, just based on kind of the discrepancy in plays. That song clearly is hit because it had 150,000 plays on YouTube Music. There's a lot more to get into than just that one song, so I really wanted to pick something different to kind of highlight these guys' sound.
Yeah, hopefully people will find the whole album and pick it up and really enjoy the whole thing, because I think it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah.
Great stuff from these guys, Imperatore, with their new album out on December the 19th. I believe both of these releases were December the 19th releases, and neither of them were from the 26th. So we're going to move on to my pick, and I have teased the thing that has happened that I don't believe has happened, and certainly if it has, it certainly flew under our radar. But first, we'll get to the pick. We are staying in Australia. We are heading out to the west side of Australia to Perth for this heavy metal band. This is Shadowborn with their new album, Through the Hourglass. Really dug these guys. This is an EP, but honestly, it's a really, really strong EP. I feel like when you're going to pick an EP, you're looking for something that isn't just one song and 3 fillers. These guys put 4 really good tracks together, and I think it's definitely worth your time because of that. These guys were founded in 2024. This is their first EP. It follows the single of the same name, so this is a new band on the scene. Interesting right out of the gate as we talk about band members. We'll start off on bass with Dan Marjanovic, who Mike has already mentioned. Both of the bands that we have picked this week have the same bassist. So as far as I know, I don't remember a time where we've actually had that happen. So that's pretty wild. Also in the band, Nathaniel Jones on lead and rhythm guitar, Josh Glendenning on vocals, and Ferdinand Handoho on drums. These guys were formed in 2024. These guys have been around. They mentioned they've been in part of Imperatore, Ethereal Realm, and Vanta, among other bands. I mentioned, or I saw a lot of the reviews of this EP talk about kind of the 70s and 80s influences for these guys, and that is definitely there. But there's also kind of a progressive feel when you get to Flame Tornado. It feels more like a prog metal song than it does maybe 70s and 80s style. I really enjoyed that as well. I can't help but mention they have a track called Curse of Baba Yaga. It's not a cover of The Curse of Baba Yaga, which is a well-known song from Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but it is another song about the legendary character from Slavic folklore. Of course, if you're a fan of Ed Guy, like we both are, you should, if you already know about the Realms of Baba Yaga, if you don't know about that song, you should go check that out as soon as we're done here, because that's a great song. Ed Guy, of course, is amazing. These guys are off to a great start. I thought this was a really strong EP. Vocals sound great. Guitars and drums are strong without being overbearing to the vocals. These guys knocked it out of the park with their first major release. I can't wait to see what these guys do next. Standout tracks include the whole thing. It's 4 tracks. It is 22 minutes long, so no reason not to check the whole thing out. We are going to check out the title track on this podcast, Through the Hourglass. So let's check out Shadowborn with their new EP, Through the Hourglass. This is the opening track to the album, also called Through the Hourglass. Let's check this out now.
Lessons lived and bridges burned. I'm happy with the scars I've earned. 1,000 chances passed me by. 1,000 ways I could have died. I used to wish to change the thread, to fix the words that I had said. But now I see through pen and stripe. It's still a miracle, this life. I see the way I walked before.
Yeah, I really dug this. Thought it was an excellent EP and definitely encourage you to check it out. Mike, what are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, I mean, different sound obviously than Imperatore, but still really, really good. The singer kind of has that voice where you feel like he should be singing epic power metal, like he should be telling you about some village where dwarves live and and going off to fight a dragon, which is not a slight in any way, shape, or form. That is actually high praise for me. Got a great sound. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, just another great Australian sound.
They're killing it down under for sure. 2 great Australian bands that we spotlight this week, so we definitely encourage you to check both of those albums out. That is the new music. That wraps up all the new music for 2025. Hopefully you go back. You can check out our VODs, of course, on YouTube. You can see about the last 30 days worth of VODs on Twitch as well. And go back and check our recommendations, because we gave you a lot of good stuff. Coming up probably in a couple of weeks, we'll have our best of 2025. That will likely run on YouTube with maybe a live stream where we'll be on and kind of comment on Twitch when we run that. So we'll keep you updated on that, but that'll be coming up over the next few weeks. But it was another fantastic year in new music. If you're not finding new music you like, you're just not simply looking hard enough.
Yeah.
And our job is to hopefully make your job easier by kind of bringing this stuff to the spotlight so you can find it. Before we get to the vault, where Mike and I will each give you a classic album to check out, we're going to take one more 90-second break on Twitch. And again, if you're on YouTube, Mike and I will continue to chat. If you're subscribed on Twitch, you'll hear us chat. Otherwise, please hang around for the next 90 seconds. And we will be back to wrap up the episode with the vault on the other side of this timeout. So please stay tuned for that. And if you can still hear my voice now that the ads have started, you are good to go. And, maybe just a quick thought on 2025. A lot of really great stuff. I haven't gotten into kind of going back and figuring out what I liked best for the year. But, again, just like we talked about this time last year, it was really amazing to see how much good music was out there. And it's encouraging that not only are we seeing lots of metal bands kind of across the genre and the spectrum of music, but we're seeing so many different countries playing metal, and it's just been really encouraging, honestly, to continue to do this podcast.
It's both encouraging and kind of sad in a way when you hear news and people blowing out of proportion, MTV shutting down some of their music-only channels. I just think a lot of these bands that we've covered over the last year or so, not only are they creating music, but they're also creating music videos. I feel like, I don't know if there's just not enough people in any one content, like whether it's a streaming service or cable TV, there aren't enough people focused on music that would actually view something like that. But I feel like there has to be some sort of market for that. I would love to have a channel that just shows videos randomly of bands we cover.
Yeah, and honestly, that is something I've considered doing. As it would have to be Twitch content because YouTube doesn't like you to show YouTube videos, but it's something I've absolutely considered about doing another somewhat weekly or monthly Twitch stream where we just watch music videos. We basically
Yeah.
pick the best from the week that end up on your playlist, and we put them in a playlist and we play them on the channel and let everybody watch them. So
It would basically be kind of the in-between moments of the Beavis and Butthead show.
Yeah.
When they're not, it's not the actual episode, it's just them watching music videos.
yeah, we could do that.
That could work.
Join our Discord and let us know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. And obviously, we'll see how it goes if we can avoid the copyright strikes or whatever might come from something like that. But of course, join our Discord. It's pinned in both the chats. You can let us know what you want to see. Also, we'll continue to post our schedules there. That's going to be important because we're going to be starting a new venture with some Japanese music, Japanese anime. We're working on, I think we've got the title pretty well nailed down. We'll talk about that maybe next week as we preview that. But should be fun. Looking forward to doing a lot of really cool things. It's not really going to be a podcast as much as it is going to be kind of just content. So you're going to see us on Twitch. You're going to see us on YouTube. You're going to see us sometimes on both. But I think it's going to be great, and I think you'll enjoy it too. So please, now's a good time. Get in the Discord because we've got big things coming in 2026. And I'm really excited because, I mean, we're over 200 episodes into the Nerdcast Empire podcast. Next week will be episode 100 of the Hard Rock Empire, and it's been wild, and we've got so many more cool things we want to do going forward.
Yeah, I'm excited. There are obviously a lot of other things that we consume as far as our interests go, and finding the right vehicle for those has been kind of the goal, I think,
Yeah.
and that's going to go into 2026 for sure.
Yeah, that'll be a big plan. So, and shout out to Chris joining us in the chat. Keep Chris in your thoughts. He's going through some things, but Chris is, he's one of our founders. He's on our Mount Rushmore of Nerdcast Empire, and we wouldn't be able to have done everything we've done without him. And
Absolutely.
look forward to having Chris on again soon. We've got lots of cool stuff, and we'll be getting him more involved in 2026 as well. So make sure you stick around for that. But it's time to get to the vault. It's time to check out the classic albums. And Mike is running two different gimmicks, although one is going to be taking, at the very least, a hiatus coming up. But the other one will continue on. That's the one you did last week and the one you will do again next week as you take a look at some of the bands that will be performing at Sonic Temple coming up in May. So I hope everybody kind of uses that as a guide to maybe some bands you need to check out on, especially on some of the backstages where maybe you're not as familiar with all the bands. I think that's a really good exercise. So we'll get back to that coming up next week on the 100th episode of the Hard Rock Empire. But over the every other week, which includes this week, Mike has been using a random country generator to send him around the world to find the best and sometimes most obscure in metal and rock. And we're off again. But I feel like the random country generator didn't do you too dirty this week. I feel like it put you in a place where there were some options. So tell us all about where we're headed for the vault this week.
Yeah, the last couple weeks actually have been pretty easy, and I'm thankful for that. But yeah, so this is actually week 14 of my journey around the world. We started it off such a long time ago, traveling through first Namibia, Israel, Uganda, Vietnam, Turkmenistan, Ukraine, Faroe Islands, Austria, Laos, Kuwait, New Zealand, Philippines, Chile, and finally where we are this week, with 1 week to go after this, because I think I'm going to cut it at 15. This week we are traveling to Bosnia and Herzegovina. Kind of figured there'd be some decent metal possibilities here. I wasn't too worried about it. And kind of looking at the numbers, we had 187 bands listed. Of that, 37 were thrash bands, 85 were black metal, 53 death metal, 10 progressive, 5 power, 6 bands with the tag rock, and 1 speed metal band, weirdly enough. So I kind of started just searching through those different subgenres to see if anything stuck out. And it was a couple that I'd looked at originally, didn't really have anything recently, or I had trouble finding some of their music. So what I ended up settling on, and I say settle lightly because they ended up being really good, is a band that formed back in 2014. They are a symphonic power metal band, at least that is what they are tagged as. I think they kind of cover more than just that. The band Starbridge, and today we are talking about their debut full-length album, Starbridge.
Yeah, I definitely had some trouble making sure I found the album art. I think this is the album art if you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube.
It's on their YouTube videos. The colors are reversed on the YouTube videos,
Yeah.
but it's definitely that logo.
Yeah.
So these guys formed back in 2014. They released their debut full-length album in 2019, and have since released a follow-up single 2 years ago in 2024. If you go to their YouTube channel, there are some other videos as well. Band consists of Dragan Grahovic on drums, Nenad Kusik on keyboards, Daniel Grahovic on guitars, bass, and vocals, and Dahana Hersum on lead vocals. In the comments section of the latest video of theirs on YouTube, the single Madness, which you should check out as well, someone compared these guys to Camelot, to which the band, I presume probably the guitarist specifically, mentioned that he hasn't listened to Camelot and he was more inspired by Rammstein.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and you can kind of hear that in some of the guitars, I think, but actually there's a lot more going on here. The keyboardist often uses like that classic organ sound that you hear like from 70s rock more often, which is a really cool wrinkle you don't hear every day with modern hard rock. The vocalist, she is an opera singer, basically. She has just an incredible voice, and the way they mix her voice with the guitarist doing kind of the male vocals, sometimes the growling, works really, really well. The first track on the album has all of that, and then you have all that going on, and then it finishes that song with this like acoustic outro, which is just totally out of left field, but really cool. Track 3, Reborn's more of a ballad, but it kind of shows the songwriting range of the band. If you compare this original album to what they have out in 2024, you can definitely see some growth in the band, but honestly, I enjoyed them both equally. It's all really good still. They also, on their YouTube channel, have a really good cover of Aerosmith's Dream On. In a world where we don't show rock videos anywhere, these guys have created music videos for quite a few of their songs, worth checking out, and I hope these guys keep releasing music, and I hope someone takes notice, because these guys are really, really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to get to hear some of this, and it's cool when you find a band that's just, again, another band that you wouldn't have come across otherwise that turns out they're really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Their debut album has 7 tracks, so just check them all out. If you want to start anywhere, just start with the first track on the album, Days of Fire. If that does something for you, you'll probably like the rest of their music as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. Again, chance to go somewhere and find some new music, so definitely check those guys out. And that is Starbridge, and representing Bosnia and Herzegovina very well. But
yeah.
Like Mike said, he's going to cap this in 2 weeks with one more trip around the world. So that means the random country generator has one final chance to be diabolical and send Mike to some crazy place. And obviously, as we've talked about, the only catch to this is there has to actually be metal bands at whatever country it sends him to. It would be kind of funny, though, if you got like the United States or Canada or somewhere like that. Australia might be funny as well, just because we've had so many Australian bands lately.
At the very least, you have to have more metal than Turkmenistan.
That's true.
Or Namibia.
So
let's see where we go.
I'm gonna guess that it probably doesn't have a lot of metal, but
I would
we'll
say
see.
you're probably right.
Interesting that the English name comes up and not the traditional French name, which you typically see for this country. And it's probably listed under
C.
Yeah, C, and it's not there. So we will not be going to Cote d'Ivoire or the Ivory Coast. So we'll have to try again. I would skip that one. There's probably no chance there's any metal bands there either. And no metal bands in Rwanda.
Wow.
So
just knocking them all out.
We're going to keep going.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'd say there probably is. 62 entries.
All right, well,
We'll give it a shot.
That could be our last trip. We're staying on that same continent, but we are moving north.
We are heading to lovely Egypt.
Egypt will be, as long as Mike can find a metal band in Egypt, that's where we'll be headed.
So let's see. We failed with Ivory Coast initially.
And we also failed with Rwanda.
and then finally Egypt.
So it definitely wanted to send you to Africa
Yeah,
to find Carmen Sandiego, but
I'm starting to wonder if there aren't weights to these random countries where they're just more likely to give you an African country. Because I feel like I got an inordinate amount of them
you did. And
during this experiment.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see. We'll go forward with the plan in 2 weeks that Mike will be headed to Egypt to wrap up his random country generator gimmick, at least for now. We may revisit it somewhere down the road, but honestly, it's been kind of interesting to see
that it has.
what kind of music is out there. And we found some really cool bands who've reached out to us on social media, so we really appreciate that as well. And very, very cool stuff. So I am continuing through the Frontiers bands. We are on to the second week for the letter V. We're getting near the end. We're spending 2 weeks on each letter, and we are going to check out the Italian progressive power metal band Vision Divine this week. This is their 6th studio album, 9 Degrees West of the Moon. Released in 2009, it marked the return of the singer Fabio Leone, who's a legendary progressive metal singer and has been in lots of different places. He returned to the band as Michele Lupi departed the band. Of course, Fabio Leone, just quickly, some of the stuff, obviously maybe best known for his time with Rhapsody of Fire. He also had his own band, Torelli and Leone Rhapsody. He's also currently the lead vocalist of Angra, was also the original singer of Labyrinth, and Vision Divine, who is obviously our target for this week. This album, the band originally formed in 1998. The lineup as of this album, as I move our graphic onto these guys, was Fabio Leone on vocals, Olaf Thorson on guitars, Federico Polari on guitars, Cristiano Bertacci on bass, Alessio Lucati on keyboards and piano, Alessandro Bisa on drums, Barbara Garzoni on violin and viola, and Fausto Solci on cello. So we have got, it's progressive when you've got the violin, the viola, and the cello involved. It was originally a solo project from Olaf Thorson. Fabio Leone joined him after his first Labyrinth period. Then it became this band, basically. It was, it said, quickly turned into a band, taking its new name from Labyrinth's previous name, Vision, and from the title that was supposed to be given to Olaf's first solo album, Divine. The band continues on. As we mentioned, that Leone has moved on to Angra again. So the announcement was made in 2025 that Michele Lupi has returned to the band and is now currently the lead singer of the band. They've had some other band changes in 2025, so kind of wonder if maybe they're gearing up for a new album. They did have a new album come out during the Hard Rock Empire era. It was in 2024, Blood and Angels Tears. Very curious to see if we don't see a new album from these guys in 2026. Overall, it's a good album. I recommend that if you are maybe not a huge fan of progressive metal, or you're just trying to get into progressive metal, this might not be the right album to get in on. I feel like if you're a fan of prog metal, you're going to really dig this. But it's proggy, and it definitely carries on at times. It's really good, but there were definitely times where it just kind of kept going and going and going. But overall, really good stuff. Standout tracks include Violent Loneliness, The Streets of Laudomia, Fly, and A Touch of Evil. Again, Fabio Leone's great. His vocals are, additive to anything he's involved in. But it's interesting to hear. I mean, he's another one of these guys that has bounced around to so many big bands. And like I said, now obviously involved in Angra, another really great band. And it's just interesting to see him just kind of weave his way through all these different metal bands.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what's next for him, because, I mean, he's leaving Angra in April.
Yeah.
Which, the dude could step into any situation and be really solid. So I'm definitely not worried about the guy, but it'll be interesting to see what his next move is. And also Vision Divine was a band that showed up on our playlist a couple years ago, back in 2024, September, I believe. That album, what was it?
Blood and Angels Tears.
Yeah, I thought that was really solid.
Yeah.
So not surprised that this was a good album.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely worth checking out. Again, it's proggy. I mean, but that's kind of what their thing is. So I think if you're ready for that, I think you're going to dig it. Next 2 weeks, we'll be going to the letter W, and I thought it might be good to check out the First Frontiers release from one of my favorite bands from the hair band era, if you will, Warrant. We're going to be checking in on their album Rockaholic, which was their first release with Frontiers. So that'll be coming up next week, so looking forward to that. Always a big fan of Warrant, and this is the first album, I believe, post Janie Lane. He was before he had not yet passed, but he had left the band. So we'll be checking out kind of what their sound sounds like after Janie Lane departed the band. So that'll be coming up next week as we celebrate the 100th episode of the Hard Rock Empire. So make sure you join us next Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, for that as we get into the music of 2026. But on that note, it is time to put an end to this episode of the Hard Rock Empire. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And big thanks to Chris, as always, for joining us in the chat. Big thanks to Mike for all of his hard work on this podcast. Big thanks to Stove Lake Media for their continued support of the podcast. Big thanks to you for listening whenever and wherever. We've got a lot of really cool things coming up in 2026. We hope you'll stick around. Join the Discord. That's where you're going to find out about a lot of these cool things before anybody else. We'd really appreciate having you along with us there. But that's going to wrap things up for the Hard Rock Empire. We'll see you next Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, for another episode. And until then, don't forget to join the Empire, the Nerdcast Empire.